coming up on the Monday edition of Carolina Week.
I'm Shelly Basinger. Coming up, what Chapel Hill police are doing to prepare for Halloween on Franklin Street.
And I'm Sean Maroney. I'll show you UNC's view of the stars from the other side of the world.
It was a tale of two halves in Miami on Saturday. We'll show you what went right in the first half and what went wrong in the second.
Rob Ellis will have your Carolina Week 4-day forecast.
All that and more. Carolina Week starts right now.
From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, this is Carolina Week.
Hello and welcome to the Halloween edition of Carolina Week. I'm Shaheen Sayal.
And I'm Philip Jones. Halloween night is one of the biggest celebrations Chapel Hill sees each year.
Shelly Basinger joins us from Franklin Street to tell us how Chapel Hill police are gearing up for a big night.
Franklin Street looks pretty tame now, but in a few hours, Chapel Hill police will be on patrol as these streets go from calm to crowded. Crowded doesn't even begin to describe downtown Chapel Hill on Halloween.
Crazy.
Ridiculous. Busy. Very busy.
The Chapel Hill Police Department has been busy for months preparing for the celebration. There will be 40 more officers on the streets this year. Police spokesperson Jane Cousins says safety is their top priority.
We have about 370 officers that will be working, and part of what they do is try to prevent anybody from getting hurt.
Police have already told downtown business owners to bring in any signs or outside tables and chairs. They will tow cars parked in the festival area beginning at 6 p.m. Then at 9 p.m., they will close off all main streets. Franklin Street will be closed from Raleigh Street to Millette Street, Columbia Street from Rosemary to Cameron, Raleigh Street from Franklin to Cameron, and Henderson Street from Rosemary to Franklin. Police will also be on the lookout for dangerous items.
Anything flammable, any explosives, glass bottles, anything that is a weapon, looks like a weapon, or could be used for a weapon that's part of your costumes.
Cousins also says police are there to keep a watchful eye on the crowd, but it's up to students to make good choices.
We'd certainly encourage people to keep their wits about them.
I think a lot of it's just avoiding the dangerous situations.
Students should avoid back alleys, and most importantly, grab a friend and stick together. There's safety in numbers. As usual, medical staff will be on hand in case there are any emergencies.
Shelly, how many people are police expecting this year?
Shaheen, about 80,000 people came out to Franklin Street last year for Halloween. Police are preparing for a crowd that size, but they say because it's a weeknight, numbers may not be that high.
Shelly Basinger on Franklin Street. Thanks, Shelly.
Hurricanes Katrina and Rita are continuing to affect poverty in America. Students and citizens of Chapel Hill gathered in the Paul Green Theater Monday morning to listen to former U.S. Senator John Edwards and former U.S. Representative Jack Kemp debate about work and poverty in America. The forum was hosted by the UNC School of Law's Center on Poverty, Work, and Opportunity and was mediated by the Assistant Professor of Public Policy, Daniel Gitterman. The pair of former vice presidential candidates talked about how they think we can improve the lives of those in poverty in America in the wake of recent natural disasters.
To register for classes or not to register for classes? That's what many sophomores who wanted basketball tickets had to ask themselves this past weekend. Men's basketball ticket distribution kicked off Saturday at 7 a.m. Students huddled outside the Dean Dome in the frosty morning air, waiting for their turn to get basketball tickets. But sophomores had to register for classes at 10 a.m. Many students say they didn't like having to make the choice between getting tickets or getting the classes they needed. A few tried to do both.
Well, I'm hoping that it's going to get done in time, but I don't know, basketball's, I guess, so important here, and it's a little bit more important than, I guess, getting your best chosen classes.
By 9:30, only 2 sophomores were still waiting for tickets at the Smith Center.
Well, here's a warning for those of you who ride bikes on campus. Bike thefts are on the rise. Police reported 6 thefts in September and 13 in October, compared to 6 total thefts from January to August of this year. Most of the bikes stolen had no locks or had been locked with cable cords. Public safety officials say bike registration is a new way to help you find your bike if it's stolen.
Where Bicycle registration has been a mandatory process. It's cost-free, it's a deterrent to crime, it aids in the identification of lost and stolen bicycles, and it's convenient.
Officials say using a U-shaped lock is a good way to keep your bike safe. Well, dozens of bikers gathered by the Moorhead Planetarium sundial on Friday to promote a car-free lifestyle. Participants created signs and passed out flyers that encouraged environmental awareness before beginning a bike tour. In order to get their message out, the bikers lined up in a row and took up a single lane of traffic down Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
The Orange Water and Sewer Authority is out for blood this Halloween. OWASA employees donned costumes for their annual Halloween blood drive with the Red Cross. Community members and local ghouls gave blood all afternoon at OWASA's administrative building in Carborough. Dracula even made a rare appearance to help give blood to a good cause. The drive's goal was to gain 50 usable units of blood, enough to help 150 people in local hospitals. American Red Cross representative Jeff Davis says the need for certain blood types right now is very serious.
Right now we're at what we call critical stages for O neg and O positive. That means we're at less than a day and a half supply.
To find out where you can donate blood in North Carolina, call 1-800-GIVE-LIFE or visit our website at carolinaweek.org. Anyone who doesn't have a costume just hours before the big Franklin Street celebration could be facing sold-out signs. Caitlin Kleinert has the story.
The sooner the better.
That's what Party City manager Timothy Robinson suggested to customers who want to dress up this Halloween. Robinson says that Party City gets all kinds of customers.
You have a mixed variety. You have some of the early shoppers that come out the very first part of the year of October. Then you have your late bloomers, which come in around the end of October.
Halloween generates 1/3 of Party City's annual sales, and costumes sell out fast around the holiday. But don't fret, costume shops aren't the only places to find your Halloween duds.
For those of you who didn't plan ahead this Halloween season for a costume like I did, you're probably facing sold-out signs at the generic costume stores. But time after time, a thrift shop on Franklin Street offers a creative option where you won't find a sold-out sign.
Owner Annie Jackson gets so busy over Halloween that she has to hire more help. UNC student Kim Timko avoided places like Party City altogether.
Well, it's cheaper, and also I think it's more authentic. I don't know. I don't really like store-bought costumes because I think they're kind of cheesy looking.
Party City costumes can range anywhere from $20 to more than $50, but some of Jackson's customers are walking away with costumes less than $20. Plus, Jackson is not running out of costumes.
Most other places run out. Like by now, they're out of all the good stuff. Tomorrow morning, we'll be here at 4 o'clock refilling the whole store.
Jackson says if you're looking for a one-of-a-kind costume that you can't find in a bag, thrift shops are the way to go. In Chapel Hill, I'm Caitlin Kleinert, Carolina Week.
And if you're in a real jam, maybe you can scrounge around in the attic for something to wear.
Well, Shaheen, there's more than just witches in the night sky.
That's right. You'll see why one local astronomer's day starts when the sun sets in South America.
I heard about this company dumping toxins in local rivers, and I called their executives to say stop. But they were too busy counting profits while the rivers are being destroyed, birds and fish are dying, and the local kids are getting cancer. So I organized a huge protest, and we actually got the company shut down. But now half the town's unemployed, and the kids are twice as sick since they can't get health care, since their parents lost the insurance they had when they worked for the company who dumped all the toxins in the first place.
Okay, guys, time for takeoff. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off! Wow! Look at that! Is that Jupiter?
Hey kids, it's time to go to the planetarium.
Moorhead Planetarium, where dreams become reality.
This summer, Carolina Week reporters Sean Maroney and Christy Keck spent time in Chile learning about the Southern Observatory for Astrophysical Research, or SOAR. Sean joins us in the newsroom now with the next in our series of special reports. Sean?
Just last month, UNC astronomers discovered an explosion at the edge of the visible universe. Phil, they did this by using SOAR. This summer, Christy and I found out what makes SOAR's location and technology perfect for these discoveries. This long, winding road used to be the only way up to the SOAR telescope in northern Chile. But now, UNC astronomer Wayne Christensen can forego the bumpy ride with just the click of a remote.
Are we doing science tonight, or is this an engineering session tonight?
With that click, he's connected to SOAR director Steve Heathcote in La Serena, half a world away.
It is kind of like the old real estate axiom, location, location, location.
And this location is prime.
Why Chile? Chile is absolutely privileged in the sense that it has about 300 clear nights a year. That's enormously higher than most other places in the world.
Here's how it works. The air that's blowing from the nearby Pacific is what astronomers like to call smooth air, meaning that it's not turbulent and the temperature is constant. Once this air travels up and over these peaks, it helps clear the atmosphere, creating these blue skies 80% of the year. That attracts observers from around the world.
David, sí está.
Such as Belgian astronomer Hugo Schwarz.
Astronomy is a very international business, and if you want to work at an observatory, you have to travel. Because in my country there are no observatories because it's always cloudy. So I think I've moved house 43 times in my life.
Moving around like that can be a gamble. You might hit a good observation time. You might not.
So if there are 4 cloudy nights, I drink coffee for 4 nights, then go home with nothing. If I could do that remote, I can just sit here and say, oh well.
That's a big deal when a university considers the costs of flights to and from remote sites, like a mountaintop in Chile.
Traveling around the world is a wonderful thing to do, but if you imagine UNC has something like the faculty of maybe 10 people, those people would spend an awful lot of their time on airplanes, so it's money and time if they did all of their observing.
Remote observing from home is invaluable, especially when you compare the dark Chilean sky to the light polluted sky over Chapel Hill and most other U.S. towns.
The best time I can remember for astronomical viewing in Chapel Hill was right after Hurricane Fran, when all the power was out and we did have a really pretty sky, but even then it wasn't as good as the sky over Cerro Pachon in Chile.
So until it's time for another flight to South America, Christensen will keep enjoying the view from SOAR from the comfort of Chapel Hill. Phil, you don't have to be a scientist to enjoy the view from the Andes. On Wednesday, I'll show you how some North Carolina high school students will soon explore the southern sky from their classrooms.
We'll be looking forward to that. Thanks, Sean.
One of the great things about fall is all the good food, especially fruits and vegetables. Thursday, vendors set up colorful displays with fresh produce, healthy items offered in the dining halls, and groups like Nourish International were on hand to counsel students about nutrition. Nutrition and fitness coordinator Jen Ketterly wants to make sure students got their fill of fall food and fun.
Really, the idea was created so that we could highlight and try to promote good nutrition for the student body. And this event was a fun, interactive way to do that.
While some students sampled the local fare and snagged free recipes, others headed to the pumpkin carving contest in hopes of winning a custom-made bike.
Well, while today is Halloween, Shaheen, the weather has been so warm outside and so good, it's scary.
That's right. Weathercaster Rob Ellis joins us now to tell us what's going on with these rising temperatures.
It's wonderful out there. You might be able to use that custom-made bike to get around in this lovely air. But the Halloween comes during harvest season, and the colors of fall are gold and red, but some are trying to turn it blue. This guy has some Carolina spirit. I'll have your Carolina 4-day forecast after the break.
Art can be many, many, many things. The North Carolina Museum of Art offers one of the premier art collections in the Southeast, and it's yours to discover. There's something for everyone. Works by classic and contemporary artists, a 164-acre museum park, an outdoor concert series, performances, and so much more. Experience all that art can be at the North Carolina Museum of Art.
North Carolina is where the wonders never cease. It's where visitors and residents alike can be touched by these things and always remember the embrace of clouds around a mountain peak, sparkling water forever in a hurry, a bridge less traveled, an enchanted wetland forest, and the place where the sun meets the sea.
Well, I hope you have the final touches made on that Halloween costume for the festivities tonight on Franklin Street. All you need to know now is if the weather is going to be a trick or a treat. Time now for your Carolina Week weather. I'm weathercaster Rob Ellis. We'll start out with our weather headlines, and the Halloween is going to be happy because our temperatures are nice and our skies are clear. We have mild days. That's going to continue for the rest of this week, and we have plenty of sunshine, although our temperatures may be a little cool, so if your festivities bring you into the early morning hours, you may want to keep that in mind as our temperatures are going to be in the 40s. Let's go ahead and take a look at the big picture on our national satellite map. Most of North Carolina, and in fact all of the southeast, is clear at the moment, but look out west. We do have a strong system that's actually been scary for some of the folks out there in the west. Some of these the system has produced strong storms in this area, but we don't think that that's going to play a part in our weather. If we go to the surface map, I'll show you why. We have a high pressure system anchored to our east off the North Carolina coast, and this has been in place for several days now, and it's expected to continue through the rest of this week, and that means that we're going to have clear skies, plenty of sunshine, as I showed you in the headlines, and that's going to continue through the weekend. Clear skies. It's going to be beautiful. You'll see that in the 4-day forecast. We'll start out on Tuesday with your temperatures of about 75 degrees with sunshine painted in for this entire week. Overnight low, though, we may get down into the 40s as we have those clear skies. Heat's able to escape, so we're able to stay cool in the evenings. But we'll do the same thing on Wednesday, temperature of 73 degrees. And as we move into Thursday, we're going to shave a few degrees off of that temperature each day. But we're going to end on Friday with a positive note, high temperature of about 74 degrees. That's good news. This is going to continue, and I think for the weekend that'll continue as well. Lows, though, through this entire period are in the 40s, so if you're making your way out on Halloween evening, keep this in mind. If you plan on being out late, you might want to bring a jacket unless it clashes with that nice Halloween costume that you have.
Great, but it looks like early on it's going to be a beautiful trick-or-treat, night to trick-or-treat.
You can't ask for a better Halloween.
Great, thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Rob. Heather Catlin joins us now with sports, and for a while on Saturday, it looked like the Carolina football team was going to upset Miami for the second year in a row.
I know. I wish the game went in the Heels' favor. And while there weren't a lot of people at the Miami game, in sports coming up, it was the second largest crowd ever for a men's soccer game, and it was against Duke. We'll let you know how the Heels fared after the break.
Come on. And it's a block. What kind of kick was that? You've got to be kidding me. Hey, hot shot. Sounds like you know a lot about the game.
You should put that to use. Come on, let's go take a jog.
There are plenty of ways that you can volunteer in your community.
Just figure out what you like to do and pass it on to others.
And you know what? You can have a lot of fun doing it, too.
Pick those knees up. Keep going. Pick those legs up. Let's go. All right, now. Show them how to kick that ball.
To find out ways you can volunteer in your community, log on to teensvolunteer.org.
Okay, Ben, here we go, buddy. That was great, Ben. This time, just try to kick the ball.
Do what you like to do. Volunteer.
Welcome to Carolina Week Sports. I'm Heather Catlin. In Saturday's game against Miami, the second half gave the Heels a whole lot of problems. Reporter John Leggett takes a look at what went wrong and why the Heels weren't able to hang on to their halftime lead.
The Heels intercepted Miami quarterback Kyle Wright not once, twice, but 3 times in the first half. Matt Baker and the offense were able to make several sustained drives, capped off by 2 rushing touchdowns by running back Ronnie McGill. But Tar Heel fans had to have a queasy feeling in their stomach after Jaworski Pollock couldn't pull in what looked to be a surefire touchdown. But most had to feel pretty confident being up 16-7 at halftime, right? Wrong. So what happened? Carolina's decision to throw on early downs in the second half instead of running put the offense in a tough situation on third downs. And when a defense is as fast and as tough as Miami's, look out. The stagnant Carolina offense gave Miami a short field, and that is a bad thing. Completely whiffing on a block, which leads to a blocked punt and a touchdown, is also not something the Heels want to make a habit of. This tale of two halves turned out to be a whole lot of problems for the Tar Heels. In Chapel Hill, I'm John Leggett, Carolina Week Sports.
The Heels take on Boston College Saturday at noon in Kenan Stadium. It was a battle between good and evil between the Heels and the Blue Devils. The Carolina men's soccer team had a big game Friday night against arch rival Duke. It was the second largest crowd to ever watch a men's soccer game at Fetzer Field. The team's defense and this successful line block by Teddy Ogart maintained the tie and sent the game into overtime. Goalkeeper Justin Hughes made some valuable saves that kept the Blue Devils from scoring on the Heels. After double overtime, the game ended in a scoreless draw. Hughes says the tie didn't take away the team's excitement for this nationally televised game.
Once you come out here, run our locker room and seeing all those people, having Carolina Fever here and the pep band, it's pretty special. It's a special moment, of your college career.
On Friday night, the visiting Heels scored 3 first-half goals and cruised to a 4-0 win against Wake Forest. This clinched the ACC regular season championship. Casey White, who already led the conference in assists, added 3 more for the Heels. Unlike the women's soccer team, the field hockey team has been struggling. Saturday's 5-0 loss to Old Dominion was the worst for the Heels in 2 years. Worse yet, it was their third in the past 4 games. Head coach Karen Shelton explained how the loss might affect the team.
Teams, after being shellacked like we were, you don't know what they're going to do. They either lose self-esteem and lose self-confidence, or they get back up.
The Heels bounced back on Saturday against Penn State. Watch Rachel Dawson do some shellacking of her own for Carolina's first goal of the game. Dawson does it again in the second half, skipping one past the crowd for goal number 2. Penn State wouldn't play dead. This breakaway goal sends the game into sudden death overtime with the score tied at 2. The Heels look mighty serious heading into overtime, but don't worry. Rachel Dawson to the rescue for the hat trick and the win. She wasn't worried at all.
Kind of just all in our control. It's whether, we choose to go out there and get it or we choose to lay down and die. And I don't think we'll choose to lay down and die.
We all know playing a varsity sport at Carolina takes a lot of hard work and sacrifice. But is it possible that the toughest sport to train for is only a club team? Reporter Cassie King explains.
It's 6 o'clock in the morning here at University Lake, and while other college students are at home in their beds, the men's crew team has already started stretching. What motivates these guys to get up this early to train for a club sport?
Because I love it. It's my life.
Andrew Knudsen is the only senior on the team, and he doesn't mind getting up at 5 in the morning.
It gets pretty hard, but I guess just knowing that all the other teams are doing the same thing all across the country, it's the only way to keep up. It's a formula that wins. You just have to learn how to operate on a little bit less sleep sometimes.
Straight out! This year, there are only 7 varsity rowers on the team as opposed to more than 20 in the past.
And it's a tough sport and it's a tough commitment, so people will wander away. But I still think we have a lot of potential. The guys who stuck around are the ones who really are dedicated to the sport, so I think they'll be willing to put in the work and really make this a good season.
Along with being a tough sport, it's also expensive.
For the varsity members, it's $1,200 in dues, which we mostly do through fundraising. So we do the rowathon in the pit, but a lot of it has to come out of pocket, so it's kind of a turnoff for some people.
And while fall is a downtime for the team because spring is their biggest season, you can still find them out on the lake. In Chapel Hill, I'm Cassie King, Carolina Week Sports.
The swimming and diving team opened its home season Friday at the 29th Annual Tar Heel Invitational. The men's relay teams got off to a strong start. They dominated these early heats and won the 200-yard freestyle and medley relays. Carolina also performed well in individual events. Freshman Whitney Sprang swam well here and went on to win the 1650 freestyle. The Heels faced tough cheering sections but drowned out the noise. Carolina won 7 of the 10 events. On Saturday in Blacksburg, the Heels competed in the season sweep of the Virginia ACC schools, topping Virginia Tech in 4 games. Camilla Ihenatu led the Heels with 19 kills and 5 blocks. Well, if you want to see some domination, head out to Cary because the women's soccer team on Wednesday is playing in the ACC tournament.
All right, we look forward to seeing if the Lady Heels can claim another ACC crown to add to their illustrious history.
Yep.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
Well, Shaheen, ghosts are a big part of Halloween.
But who knew we had one living right here in Chapel Hill? Reporter Tina Tang will explore the legend.
Thanks, Shaheen. After the break, I'll show you what's behind this door, if your heart can take it.
Plus, we'll have a look at how Halloween has gone to the dogs.
I hang out with a pretty trashy circle, the circle that helps this circle. It starts when we recycle trash at home. It's completed when we buy products made from recycled materials. Check the label for something called post-consumer recycled content. Then buy the highest percentage of it you can find. Complete the circle.
Call 1-800-2-RECYCLE for your free shopping guide. Environmental Defense, finding the ways that work.
If you have a story idea, contact Carolina Week at 843-8292. You can also visit us online at carolinaweek.org. If you have questions about this program, write Carolina Week at Campus Box 3365, UNCCH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27599.
You know, Phil, Halloween isn't only for people.
You're enjoying this a little too much. But you're right, dogs can enjoy Halloween just as much as people can. Whole Foods hosted Bow Woween on Friday to raise money for the Animal Protection Society. While some were quick to make friends, others preferred to sit on the side and watch. Now there was a contest for cutest costume and best kisser.
We wanted to win. We wanted to win.
This year was the first this was the first year Whole Foods hosted Bow Woween, and the dogs appreciated a Halloween celebration all their own.
Well, Halloween comes just once a year for most of us.
That's right, but reporter Tina Tang tells us why for one local ghost, it's Halloween all year round.
Carolina Inn, 3-time host for Ghost Hunter University. Ghost Hunting 101 for both skeptics and believers. Ghost hunter Christopher Moon says Chapel Hill is a great place for ghost hunting.
Well, it's actually just such an amazing place to come with the history and the preservation that's here. The paranormal activity is great because of the buildings being preserved so well.
Moon says ghost hunting is designed to gather scientific evidence using tools like electromagnetic field meters and digital cameras. John Kane is passionate about ghost hunting, and he found the university by chance.
I was wanting to stay in the room 252, and they just said, well, that room is occupied, but they're having a ghost hunters university. And I said, well, sign me up.
Occupied? That might be an understatement. According to local legends, this room is actually haunted, and the ghost could be sitting in this chair, enjoying my company. Legend has it that the ghost of Carolina professor and longtime in-resident Dr. William J. Cox still hangs around the room. J. Cox is known to be a prankster, both alive and dead. He would lock guests in or out of the room or slam doors on them. Even professional ghost hunters aren't spared.
I did have an incident last night where the door slammed on me on its own.
J. Cox pranks make Carolina Inn rank number 9 on the list of top 10 haunted hotels in America. Most visitors don't mind staying in this room. In fact, many call to request to spend the night with Dr. J. Cox. In room 252, I'm Tina Tang, Carolina Week.
Thanks, Tina. And as we see, there's ghosts there, but I certainly hope there are no ghosts or ghouls here in the studio.
Yeah, I really hope there aren't, because I am deathly afraid of ghosts.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Carolina Week. Thanks for watching.
Have a safe and happy Halloween. Good night.